A pilot for a television show that was, this is like early 80s, and it was actually directed by Ron Howard and Anson Williams.
Wow.
So I remember as a kid, Ron Howard, of course.
Richie and Potsy.
Richie and Potsy. And Ron is now a huge director, and I remember as a kid going into the audition, and I was like, it's Richie Cunningham and Potsy. This is unbelievable.
It's got to be surreal.
It can't get better than this. And then actually, when I did like a lot of 80s sitcoms, like Webster and Facts of Life and all that kind of stuff, and Family Ties, and I actually originally, when I auditioned, because I had such a big mouth, I auditioned for the role of Mouth. But I was, I talk like a mouth, but I look like a chunk. So first I tried out for Mouth, passed, they said, oh, come back and read the chunk stuff, and then, went up the food chain and actually, finally auditioned for Steven Spielberg, who produced it, and then Richard Donner, who directed it, so I was able to audition for them. And I remember, I was so nervous, but I wanted to get something out of it, so when I auditioned for Spielberg and Donner, I had a little E.T. doll, like a little leather E.T. doll. And I actually went in and I was like, hey, Mr. Spielberg, would you please sign my E.T. doll? So I knew even if I didn't get the part, I still had an autographed E.T. doll. So
you really were able to double your pleasure there, more
exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Of course.
I have one of those ET dolls.
You know what I'm talking about?
It disintegrated in storage, unfortunately.
Yes.
And all that's left was like a leather mass.
Well, that's
nothing.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Can't get anything for that on eBay.
I know you can't. You can't cash in on that. There's a couple stories behind the scenes on the set of Goonies. One is that you had chicken pox on the set, that you were actually contagious at this time. And you could have infected the entire Goonie clan.
Wow. Well, you're putting a really negative spin on it.
Put it like that. I apologize. But think about that. We would have been denied all this entertainment for many years.
Your position has the virtue of being true.
Thank you. I forgot I'm messing with a lawyer, by the way.
You're saying the legal game. Yeah, so I got the Goonies, and I was so excited, and I guess I was in 5th grade, because I was 10 when I did Goonies, and all the other kids were a little bit older. They were either kind of 12. I think Key was 12. I think Sean was around 14. So I was the youngest one, and I got the Goonies, and I was all excited and getting ready to go, and chicken pox broke out at my school, and I was like, I have a choice here to make. I could do the right thing, or I could do it really wrong.
Yeah, you could.
And so it was kind of later in the later stages, and actually the place where I had the chicken pox, where it actually showed, was on my belly. I didn't have very many on my face, but it was on my belly. But we're like, we're just gonna kind of sneak in there and hope nobody notices. But one of the first scenes I do is the truffle shuffle. So when I lift my shirt up, it's fairly obvious that something went horribly wrong. Oh my god! And the producers were so mad.
Were they really angry? Did they threaten to kick you off the set?
Well, the studio teacher was like, how could you guys do this? The whole thing. I don't know, man. So, but it was too late.
And it worked out.
It worked out.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, that's right.
What inspired you to cry? I think there's a story here that it was very realistic tears as you're being interrogated by the Fratellis. Yeah,
those tears are real. Those tears are real. And it's not because I was a great actor. And what it actually was, and it's funny, he still fights with me about this. I see him in LA, and we get in fights about it, because he says it didn't happen, but I was there, and it totally happened. So we're sitting there. It's like me, and then I guess it's Joey Pantaleone, is one of the Fratelli brothers, and there's Robert Davi. Joey is a pal, and he's great. He was in Matrix, and Risky Business, and all these great shows. And then Robert Davi is sitting over there, so they're all trying to get me into the mood, right, of making me afraid, so that I can really cry, and it's not really working. And they're all kind of looking at me mean, and we're all kind of getting in the scene, and it's the blender's getting ready to go, and they're showing me how that works. And Robert Davi, because he's demented, reaches over and starts pulling. I'm a little kid. I'm a cute little kid, right? You wonder why ex-child actors all have drug problems. It's because of stuff like this, right? So he reaches over and starts pulling the hairs. And not the big hairs, the little baby hairs, right there. And it really hurt. And they saw it was really impacting me. And the director's like, keep doing that, that's really good. Yeah. Robert, go for it, man, go for it. And so it hurt so bad, and nobody would stop. And I just started really crying because it freaked me out. I'm roll, this is cinema gold, man, let's do this. And Robert to this day gets really mad. He's like, that never happened, I'd never do that. I'm like, you're a liar, Robert Downey. I'm still in therapy because of that, man. That totally occurred. So
he does have, he's very threatening.
He's a threatening guy. He's a kind of scary guy, yeah.
Speaking of threatening, a very large man and quite a gentle giant, John Matuzak. And
yeah.
We've had some questions here. We had some Q&A questions.
Great.
And people want to know what your relationship was like with John Matuzak and what his spirit was like on the set.
John was a great guy. John was enormous. John Matuzak, who played Sloth. Anybody, you have some football fans out here? Yeah, I imagine. So you know, well, if you're an NFL fan, John Matuzak, I believe, was the #1 draft pick in the NFL when he went pro. He was an All-Pro defensive lineman for the Raiders, and he was the largest man in the NFL when he played. I think he was about 6'9". He was astonishingly big. John was a huge man, and just a giant. And on the set with the kids, he was really nice. You know, he was really mellow. But I remember like a couple stories about John. I remember, you know, like when I was in high school and I started playing football and started doing different things. I remember watching like those NFL films, you know, like, 1978, Oakland, California, the Raiders take the field. And it was old football films of John Matuzak, and he was an absolute beast. He was an absolute monster, just like running, smacking people upside the head. And I couldn't believe that was like mellow John Matuzak. I remember one scene in Goonies, part of the reason Dick Donner, the director, was able to get those really realistic kind of reactions out of us is he did things like, you know, had the actors pull the hairs out of our head or would like surprise us with stuff. So in the scene where Sloth picks me up, you know, like I'm sitting in the chair, like I'm tied to the chair, and Sloth picks me up and kisses me. The fear in my eyes, again, I wasn't a great actor, it was real fear. Because they said, the director's like, okay, Jeff, so here's what we're going to do. So Sloth is going to come up, and he's going to grab you, you know, and pick you up for the big kiss, but we're going to cut, like when he grabs you, and then we're going to cheat the scene. Then we're going to cut to a different angle that shows or like use some sort of mechanism to help him pull you up because his back hurts. Because he hurt his back in the NFL, so he can't pick you up. And I'm a pretty heavy little kid. This makes sense. So he reaches in, and I'm waiting for the cut, and he's 6'9", and he just like picks me right up like this, and I'm just screaming, and then he just pushes me like right up against his like gross makeup encrusted face, and it's horrible. So the horror and fear was actually real.
And I've heard tales of that Dick Donner purposely didn't show you things like that.